Throughout history, cats remained largely unnoticed, not because they couldn't be seen, of course, but because they kept such a low, quiet profile. Centuries before felines claimed our sofas, shattered glasses on the floor, or accumulated billions of views as viral internet stars, they roamed the solitary deserts and savannas of North Africa and the Middle East. In those days they were stealthy, small, and infinitely patient predators. While wolves relied on cooperation, felines never needed a pack to thrive. They didn't hunt together, protect one another, or form tight-knit communities. For the ancestral cat, survival was a solo mission. For millennia, mankind largely overlooked these small felines, as they seemed trivial next to the colossal threats of the prehistoric era. Our ancestors dreaded wolves. They dreaded bears. Their nightmares were filled with massive beasts, lurking just past the reach of campfire light. No one could have predicted that a tiny striped feline would conquer households all over the globe. Yet humanity unwittingly built the perfect environment for them. Roughly 12,000 years ago, our own way of life underwent a permanent shift. Throughout the vast majority of our past, humans survived by foraging. Tiny bands traveled endlessly across wide territories to find their next meal. Gradually, across the globe, societies discovered a game-changing alternative. Rather than roaming vast territories in constant search of sustenance, communities established fixed settlements to cultivate their own food. This single breakthrough permanently reshaped the course of human history. In an unprecedented shift, early humans began stockpiling immense reserves of food in centralized spots. This was grain, staggering quantities of it, capable of sustaining entire settlements through harsh winters. Yet, this new abundance came with a dark side, swiftly luring in mice, and soon after, rats. Huge rodent populations boomed near the first farming communities. Picture these ancient settlements after dark, storerooms overflowing with harvested grain, soft, frantic scratching echoing behind the walls, provisions quietly vanishing night after night. Today, we view these creatures as mere pests. For early humans, these pests were a lethal threat. A major infestation could wipe out the vital food stores that kept entire clans alive. Nearby, however, wild felines made an extraordinary discovery. Humans had inadvertently gathered thousands of potential prey into one concentrated hotspot. To a pint-sized hunter, the first agricultural communities were a dream come true. Wildcats were spared the exhausting search for prey across dusty deserts and endless fields. Instead, dinner gathered right where humans lived, transforming early settlements into massive, self-sustaining rodent hubs. Gradually, the most daring felines ventured nearer. At first, they kept a wary distance, lurking in the shadows and gliding between structures to hunt around food stores after dark. Soon enough, people began to notice these stealthy visitors. These tiny hunters hanging around early settlements ended up addressing a major crisis. They destroyed countless pests. Unlike our alliance with wolves for defense and tracking, the bond with felines began with something much simpler: mutual benefit. People welcomed felines to guard their harvests. In turn, cats stayed because human settlements became perfect hunting zones. Over millennia, this convenient arrangement evolved into a deep, mutual bond. Felines that tolerated human presence enjoyed a bounty of easy meals, while their more anxious counterparts kept their distance and struggled to survive. Over many generations, natural selection gradually favored those cats that felt at ease in our company. This is where felines completely diverged from canines. Domestication radically reshaped dogs, altering their physical forms, temperaments, and instincts. Cats, however, remained virtually untouched. Today's domestic felines are still genetic near-duplicates of their ancient wild ancestors. Their connection is much closer than the bond between dogs and wolves. Indeed, the African wildcat, the species researchers credit as the ancestor of our house cats, retains an incredibly recognizable appearance. If one strolled down your street today, you'd almost certainly mistake it for a common runaway tabby. For all intents and purposes, your domestic cat remains a miniature beast of prey residing in your living room. Consider their daily habits. They shadow sliding targets, launch surprise attacks on toes hidden beneath sheets, and quietly watch birds for hours on end. They'll even slowly nudge a glass off the counter, lock eyes with you, and never look away. Suddenly, they bolt down hallways at breakneck speeds for no obvious reason. This behavior stems from ancient impulses. Even their playful moments are dry runs for the hunt. A cat stalking a toy is merely rehearsing the exact survival skills its ancestors relied on in the wild thousands of years ago. In contrast to our canine companions, felines never adapted to serve humanity. While dogs developed a drive to collaborate with us, deciphering our emotions, craving our validation, and obeying directions, cats embarked on an entirely separate evolutionary journey. Felines realized that human society offered an incredibly easy lifestyle, so they simply moved right in. Because of this, researchers suggest that cats essentially tamed themselves. Unlike our history with dogs, people never targeted them for selective breeding. Felines integrated into early communities for their own advantage, an arrangement people welcomed for its mutual rewards. This cooperative bond was so successful that felines journeyed alongside the growth of human society. Wherever early farming methods took root, these animals were sure to follow. Spreading across trade paths, rural settlements, and agricultural lands, felines soon found a new, unintentional sanctuary provided by humans. Merchant vessels, historical ships loaded with crops and provisions, suffered from endless rodent infestations. These pests ruined stored food, transmitted infections, and ravaged valuable freight. Thus, mariners began welcoming felines aboard to combat rampant pests. Suddenly, these tiny hunters secured free passage across the globe. Small predators pioneered new lands beside human explorers, establishing frontiers throughout Europe, Asia, and Africa. Wherever mankind transported food, pests inevitably trailed. Where pests gathered, felines proved highly beneficial. In time, however, these creatures transcended mere utility, earning profound devotion in several societies, most famously throughout ancient Egypt. In ancient Egypt, felines were so deeply revered that harming one invited severe consequences. Many historians believe households grieved a pet's passing much like they would a human relative. These animals eventually became sacred symbols of Bastet, the goddess of domestic safety, fertility, and protection. Feline sculptures began to populate both sacred temples and everyday homes. Later, as researchers excavated Egypt's historic tombs, they made a mind-blowing discovery: countless millions of preserved cat mummies. It is truly remarkable to consider how vastly their status had evolved. Emerging from the quiet sands of the desert, this creature grew to hold sacred status within one of history's mightiest empires. Yet, even as revered deities, felines maintained an attitude of supreme entitlement. This very air of untouchable mystery is likely what captivated humanity so deeply. Dogs, by contrast, are far easier to read. Felines carry an ancient aura. Even today, we view them as enigmatic, hard to read, and remarkably clever. Unlike dogs, cats still conduct themselves like animals that have never quite surrendered to civilization. A piece of their spirit remains in the wild. We continuously witness remnants of their primal ancestry. A cat needing a soft blanket likely mimics the nursing behavior of its infancy, while brushing past your ankles allows them to claim you using their scent glands. Dragging prey back to the house might just be their way of feeding a terrible hunter, which reveals exactly how highly they rate our survival skills. Researchers have also found that felines actually invent unique vocalizations, exclusively to communicate with their owners. In the wild, mature felines almost never vocalize to one another, yet they vocalize endlessly around people. Throughout their long history with us, they discovered which specific pitches successfully capture our focus. In fact, your pet might be actively hacking your mind, using highly specialized acoustic tactics. Amazingly, this tactic yielded incredible success. Today, about 600 million domestic felines reside with humans globally, cementing their position as one of the most prosperous predatory species in existence. It was not raw power, cooperative hunting, or subservience to mankind that secured their future. Instead, a tiny, solitary desert predator realized that nesting within human civilization was the ultimate path to global survival. Today, we splurge on pricey gadgets, warming cushions, self-scooping litter trays, and custom-made furniture for creatures that will happily blank us for half the day, only to screech at the top of their lungs the moment they want dinner. Yet, even now, felines maintain a striking self-reliance unmatched by other household pets. If left to their own devices, many are fully capable of fending for themselves. In just a few generations, some stray cats revert to habits nearly indistinguishable from their wild ancestors, suggesting their domestication remains unfinished despite millennia of coexistence. This sets them apart from most other tame animals who developed a profound reliance on people. Felines essentially just grew at ease in our presence, which might be the most bizarre aspect of their history. While dogs teamed up with humans as cooperative allies, cats aligned with us out of pure self-interest. Yet across the millennia, that cold calculation gradually transformed into genuine devotion. This evening, your feline companion, whose predatory lineage stretches back to ancient deserts, will curl up in your living space, absolute in the belief that they hold the deed. Generations later, the cosmic cat distribution network still operates without a single hitch.